back. I'm in one of my favorite quiet places, i.e. my car. Nice and quiet for videos, right? And we're going to talk about quiet places today. This video idea came up because for a long time I've been wanting to watch A Quiet Place. And when I looked it up at my library, I was like, oh, I don't have to just watch A Quiet Place. I can turn it into a multimedia event for one of my books with the same title videos, because I found a bunch of quiet places. So that's the concept today. We've got a couple books, we've got the movie, we've got a CD to talk about, and I'm just going to review all these quiet places while sitting in one of my favorite quiet places, my car, because I love doing videos in here. Whatever, right? Anyways, so let's get started and run with what this concept is. So, since it was the inspiration, we may as well start with the movie. I assume most people who've wanted to see this movie have probably seen it by now. I just was very late to the game. It sounded very fun, and I just took forever to get to it. But here we are, and I had a lot of fun with it. I mean, horror is... Fun is probably not the right word. It was a pretty well set up movie. I enjoyed it a lot. I liked the concept and the way that it had to stay quiet and things was done really well. I think overall the concept of the film played out pretty well. There are a few plotting issues and things, but there always is if you examine stuff too closely. My biggest issue with it really is that it's a quiet place, and so they can't talk through most of the movie, and so we get sign language for them to communicate, which, great, I love that. Communicating through sign language, perfect, fabulous. Except for that you don't actually see a lot of the signing going on in the film. Like, I get putting, like, a translation is maybe the wrong word, but, you know, like the subtitles at the bottom to be like, if you don't speak sign, this is what they're saying. I get that. But we don't actually see them sign either. And as someone who knows sign language, I was very much like, who made this decision that it's a quiet place and they need to sign to communicate, but then we don't actually get to watch them sign? There would be shots where it was just like off like this, signing, or it would have like, you'd see like a little flicker of the hands down here, and the subtitles would pretty much cover even that. And it was just like, what was the point of putting sign language in the film if you're not even going to show the sign language? I was very frustrated by that decision. That was probably my biggest gripe with it. Again, there were a few like plotting things that I was a little like, I don't quite understand how that works, but overall it was great. The tension, fabulous. I loved watching a quiet movie. Like, it's such a unique concept. Most movies are so big and so loud with explosions and action and stuff. It was great to watch a movie that was like, that is the plan. We're just gonna be quiet. So, I loved that. That was great. Had a fun time. I recommend it if you're looking for a different sort of horror. So, yeah. That's all I have to say about it after all this time. It was like, those are my big thoughts. I guess one other thing would be how the monsters were done. I feel like revealing their bodies the way they were was done maybe a little too early. There was still a lot of great tension and stuff in the film, and it didn't overall super ruin things for me, but horror tends to be a bit scarier when you don't see the monsters, but you do see them pretty early on in this. So that was a little bit like, I questioned that, but there you go. That's my thoughts on A Quiet Place, the movie. So next, let's jump into my other multimedia piece, and we'll talk about the CD. This is Quiet Places by Andras Vollenweider. This one I knew I was going to like because it's got a cello in it, and I play cello, and I love cello. The general concept of this is that there are 10 thematic improvisations, is what it says on the back. It's actually from Germany, which is really fun too. I like German stuff if you've watched any of my book hauls and see all the German books that I get secondhand. But yeah, so like there are many aspects of this that I was like, oh, I'm going to like this. There is actually a song on it called Come to the Quiet Place. which, since we're talking specifically about Quiet Places, I figure I may as well specifically mention. And I have to say, it was probably my least favorite song on the CD. It just didn't have enough cello for me compared to all the others. Which, everyone has their own tastes with such things. But, the improvisations overall in this were very fun. It's a very pretty CD. I'm glad I picked it up and I found it, just because it was nice to listen to. Even though, the one that fits best with the prompt of the video that I'm doing was not my favorite piece in it. But the overall CD is still called Quiet Places, so it still counts to say that I enjoyed the CD and that overall it was a nice one. And yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say on that. I just wanted to throw it in there because I found it with these other ones. Next up, we have The Quiet Place, which is a little picture book that I found. This was a really sweet little story. It's about a girl who moves from Mexico, I think, to the United States. So it's just a short little piece looking at some of the ways that she has to cope and how life is different in America compared to where she came from. The text is all a series of letters back to her aunt who still lives in Mexico, and I feel like this would be a really nice one for someone who's got a kid they just moved with them or something, to give them kind of a related experience, to be like, hey, it's okay to have these struggles when you move. Everyone kind of does, but you can adapt and find a new place and enjoy that too. If you're curious, the specific quiet place that the title refers to is the main girl. She gets a cardboard box that she uses as a playhouse, and that's her little quiet place that she goes to. It was very cute. I did enjoy it, but I don't think I was quite the right audience beyond it being a picture book, because my family moved a lot when I was a kid, but we didn't move across countries. It was mostly within the same state, so there wasn't a lot of that cultural difference when my family moved. But if, this was read to a child who is experiencing that kind of cultural change, I think that this could be a very useful book for that. So it was very nice, and I'm glad I picked it up. It was a fun little read. And finally, what was probably my surprise favorite of this video, or of all these quiet places, was A Quiet Place by Seicho Masumoto. This book is actually from the 70s, I think, when I was looking at the copyright. Yeah, 1975 is the copyright on it. So it's an older book. It's a translated book. It takes place in Japan, and what a ride this book was. I just picked it up because, these other ones, it was oh, A Quiet Place. This will fit perfectly for the video idea. But this book, oh my goodness. So it opens up with our main character, Asai, who's off on a business trip. And then his wife dies unexpectedly while he's on this business trip. She had heart problems, and she ends up having a heart attack while he's gone. And so he has to go back and take care of that. And then the whole story kind of plays out from there. And just this interesting mystery develops around his wife's death, and the way that the story explores his degree of grief with her, because she was technically his second wife, and things like that too. It was a fascinating book. It's 230 pages, and I basically read it in a day. I kept being I have other things to do, I'll just finish this chapter and go do other things, and then I would find myself having read another chapter and another chapter. It was fascinating. It's kind of a murder mystery, but mostly just mystery. It's not really a murder case, I guess, is the point that I'm making. His wife dies, and it's semi-mysterious why she was where she was when she died and that kind of thing. So he's investigating that, and I don't know, it was just such an interesting take on a mystery compared to what American stories do with these kind of things. Whereas if this had been an American one, I feel it would have played out that his wife had been murdered and it was a full-blown murder mystery, whereas this was just mystery surrounding wife's death. Here are some odd circumstances, let's investigate. And this is why I really love finding books and movies and whatever other things that are from different cultures than mine, and particularly Asian cultures. I feel like the storytelling is just so different than how American storytelling works. And it just works for me. This one really worked for me so much. So I highly recommend it if you're looking for a little bit of a unique mystery. Yeah, like, let me know if you have books like this that you find that are like just kind of random ones that you pick up and then it's like, oh my gosh, this book just did things to me, that kind of thing. But yeah, this is why I read translated books. Honestly, I love it when the stories grip me like this. I love when the storytelling feels so different than what I'm used to from American stuff. This was great. So, having said all that, these are all the quiet places that I consumed for this video. I had a great time doing it. If you want to see more multimedia versions of this instead of just like, here's books with the same title like I've been doing, feel free to let me know down below. I thought this was a fun way to do it, but it may not always work out so well to be able to do a multimedia. Obviously, all titles are not gonna have versions and everything, but I thought it was a fun way to do it. If you want to see if I can find more, feel free to let me know. If you happen to have consumed any of these yourself and have thoughts and things you want to share on any of them, feel free to share as well. I love talking with people about things. Yeah, I think that's all I've got for now. But I hope you enjoyed watching some of these things that I've found and that maybe you'll go consume some of them now too. And that's all I got for now. This is the Umlaut Harper signing out.